In standards-based grading, you get a separate score for each standard, or at least general category. So instead of physics, C. You have like 5 standards there, general categories, and you get a separate grade for each one. That's the way the nation is moving. High schools, middle schools, not just elementary. The less curriculum per symbol, the more accurate, the more useful is that symbol. But the more you aggregate in a tiny little symbol, the more of a joke it is. And the more misclassified students will be, the more of a mess we make of our system. So the math isn't the be-all, end-all. Turns out we can do some amazing things if we just get out from behind the math. So there's an article here on getting rid of averaging, which is one of the ways that actually distorts the accuracy of the grade. I can talk to you about that if you like. But what else do we have? Well, we disaggregate. I told you about that already. Separate score for each one. We also have increased sample size. So do you have a pattern over time? Much better way to go. Oh, by the way, that's actually my son before he went into 8th grade. He's one of the few students whose parents gave us permission to use his photo. We've already talked about this one. We can learn without grades, but not without descriptive feedback. And I've already talked about those 2 questions. We've already mentioned this, being good at test taking doesn't qualify you for creative contribution. And just because teachers and parents can't fathom how to pull it off doesn't mean they're allowed to drop the principle. I get teachers quite often that do this. This child doesn't do any homework and there's no parental support. I can't possibly teach him. What they just said is this. I've exhausted my imagination. May I drink from your creativity cup? Please, sir, some more. You got to understand the principle is worth fighting for. Even though you can't figure out how to do it right now, work on it. It's a worthwhile fight or struggle. Give that a read. Random acts of humor that go a long way. Okay, moving on. Now, as people get into this, they realize formative assessment is the stuff that figure out where the kid is right here, right now. Well, think about something. What if a kid on a pop quiz gets an F, but on the main test that has exact same questions like 2 weeks later, he totally nails it, gets an A. That quiz is now inaccurate. If I were to weave it in, here's where you are right now, plus a composite of all your digressions. And you're only as good as your weakest scores will allow us to report when aggregated. You never do that. You ran the mile, man, at 9 minutes, 20 seconds. Then as you got stronger and older, your stride got longer. You ran it at 7:10, then 6:30, then 5:45, and now you're 5:25. Yes! Oh, wait. Average that all together. Your official time for the mile is 7:03. You would never tolerate that. You're given credit for the highest level you ever obtained, not a composite of what you used to know. And nowhere in any job are you given an evaluation where they go, this evaluation is an indicator of your current performance level, plus all the times you didn't know anything, you were incompetent. Woven together. No, that's not the way the world works. So, formative assessment, lots of it. Lesson plans should be full of it. Descriptive feedback, summative judgment. That's your summative assessment. We call it judgment, so they're mindful of the role it plays. This is a final judgment of you. There is no more. There should be lots of feedback written in the margins and on the rubrics for formative stuff. Very little in the summative because it's anticlimactic. Summative actually means post-learning. Oh, yeah. Can you ever take something that was meant to be the summative final test and turn it into a formative experience if you think the kid could actually learn more? Because your mindset is, I shall teach so that you learn, not hide behind a calendar date arbitrarily imposed. Yes. The only reason you can't redo final exams is because somebody set that policy, not because it's pedagogically correct. And what we found is this. When kids redo something after screwing up, they actually learn to honor deadlines the first time around because they don't want to have to go through the redo process. And they learn time management, task analysis. They learn how to get their act together. But giving the kid a 0 when he misses a deadline doesn't teach that stuff. It just breeds resentment. School's about seat time. I'd rather have somebody walk side by side. I refuse as a teacher, and as a parent, I better have teachers who refuse to do this, to be a rim waver. I shall wave from the rim of the pit you have dug for yourself. You didn't start that project weeks ago like the rest of the class, so now you're turning in garbage and you're getting an F. What? Yes, I know it's cold and lonely down there. You're right, there's no way out. That'll learn you. And we wag this admonishing finger from afar as if that teaches. It doesn't. Here's what teaches. Jump in the pit with them. Even though you've never been there before, act like it and qualify for an Academy Award. I've been here before. I know the way out. Come, child. To walk side by side with him as he recovers from that irresponsibility or that cognitively just falling short actually teaches more, matures them faster than slapping an F on them ever could teach. Study resilience, fostering independence, building grit in humans, and you will find it's far more powerful. The letter grade never taught it. I've actually gone to teachers. So, you gave that child an F when he actually didn't do it on time. You just got an F. What do you think he learned? I don't know, but he learned from my class he couldn't miss a deadline. That's going to prepare them for that working world, let me tell you. So he didn't learn the stuff. He's still incompetent. Oh, yeah, I guess so. Really? That's your legacy? Incompetence? Your gift better be competence and maturation. Has he matured? I don't know. Walk with him. As he recovers from failure, it teaches dramatically more than just simply labeling the F. Oh, it's not going soft. It's actually far more demanding. LSATs, MCATs, praxis for teachers, bar exam for lawyers, CPA exam, accountants, driver's license test, auto mechanics licensure test, pilot's exams, every single high-stakes test in all the professional world, all of them are allowed to be redone. ACTs, SATs are allowed to be redone over and over and over and over again for full credit. How pompous is it for a classroom teacher to say, this quiz, this test, this paper can't possibly be redone because I'm preparing you for the larger world. You don't have a pedagogical leg to stand on. I had a kid trash talking me one time in the locker area. Didn't know it was coming up behind him. His classmates' eyes got real big because they saw me coming, and I'm coming in like this. I was right behind him as he said this, man, Mr. Wormeli makes you do it over and over again until you learn it. It sucks. I'm thinking, touchdown. I bite down and I don't let go. Guys, I got to tell you, this is scary for a teacher, but you should encourage teachers to do this. Go to the grade level above you. All right, I'm a science teacher. I'm an English teacher. I'm a history, whatever. I go to the next grade level above. The students that came through me last year, do you notice anything unique about them? Anything different? And they always say when I do that, oh yeah, I know the Wormeli students. And I start shaking my knees like, are they not prepared? No, they know their stuff. So I relax a little. What do you notice? Well, when they don't learn something, they're not doing very well, they blame themselves, not me, the teacher, or circumstances in their lives. They own it. Oh, that's actually pretty mature. And you know what? When they don't know something very well, they don't wait till the test is over and then come to me and say, can I redo? They come to me very early on and ask for help. They have self-advocacy, self-efficacy. Oh, that's actually what scholars do. Yeah, and they have really nice, neat notebooks. That's just a pet peeve. My kids have a reputation for me doing redos all that I do, even for immoral reasons, for being highly mature and independent and realizing with candor, I screwed up. I'm not going to blame other people. I'm going to own this. And then having the skill set to act upon it and do the wise and wonderful thing. They don't overly rely on redos. It's not a treat. They turn to each other, give testimony. It's just easier if you keep up. Never have to redo for Mr. Wormeli. Because there's all these hoops through which they must jump in order to do a redo. So redos and retakes, they're not getting away with anything. It shouldn't be done without consequence. Oh, there are consequences. And I've outlined a few of them for you later in the handout. But just know, kids grow and mature faster. It's a positive. What about homework? If I don't count a lot, they won't do it. Here's what we found. The same number of kids do homework, whether you count at 10% or 50% of a grade. Same number of kids who don't do homework won't do homework, whether you count at 10 or 50. It's whether you count it at all and it's meaningful. That changes the number of kids who do homework. So here's a good experiment to try. Have a kid take a test without doing homework and a kid taking a test doing homework. I've actually done this before as a little experiment. The kids who do their homework usually do how? Pretty well. Kids who don't do homework, a lot of them end up doing pretty well because in my class, they did this. No one talk to me. Mr. Wormeli, you go ahead. They're so concentrating. And they leave my class. Okay, Amelia, Cordata, Felicite, Cat. Okay, they're going, and they're trying to memorize. They're trying to prove to the world they don't have to do homework. And I totally manipulated them to paying attention to my class. But that's fun, a nice experiment. Here's where the rubber hits the road. Test them on that stuff a month or two later. The group that did homework remembers it. Homework is not to learn it. Homework is to make sure you know it in June. Or dare we even hope over the summer into the fall. So, if a kid does no homework, he gets an A, I think he should get an A. Homework's reported separately. What if a kid does beautifully on the homework but bombs every test? You know what teachers think? Whose homework am I marking here? And they worry when mom and dad use the wrong pronoun in teacher conferences. We worked on that for 2 weeks. He worked on it, not you. I will tell you right now, if a child comes home and says, can you help me with my homework? It was the wrong assignment. You're supposed to be totally 100% autonomous. If there's a fire drill or an assembly, I know, the teacher may not finish the explanation. But most of the time, if they keep coming home and asking for your assistance, it's developmentally inappropriate. Homework is to practice what's already been learned, not to learn it the first time, if you're living up to the promise. So look for that in the work that comes home with your kids. This is just a reminder you grade against standards, outcomes, not the routes they take. So learning logs, practice logs, covering the textbook, showed up to play in a concert at night, should be reported separately against the standards. Some of you might need a visual, so I just decided to tell you this. The more you put formative stuff, there's a coming to know in the final exam, the final report, the lower its accuracy. I could superimpose another arrow, the greater your ethical problem. Look at all that stuff this teacher taught. Is that a lot of stuff, by the way, those of you who know your math? In 9 weeks, is that a lot of stuff to teach? The correct answer would be yes. Good. What's the child's grade? B. Good, Elliot. Do you recognize what I just said? No Reese's Pieces for you. That B means nothing about any of this stuff. So we want to get revelatory. Revelatory. Reveal story. What? Disaggregate. Student 1 did terrible in the first domain. Standard, category, whatever. Did great in the second one. His score is 12. Student 2 did reverse. Great in the first, poor in the second. Her score is 12. Student 3 did mediocre. His score is 12. But the sameness of my vocal inflection, I'm trying to prove a point. All the kids get is B, 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 B. It means nothing unless you disaggregate it. He's high in this one, he's medium, and high, and low, and low. That's standards-based grading, where you're grading against evidence. Less curriculum per symbol reported. We've already talked about that one. That's actually another picture of my son. I know, weird, I'm promoting my family. Anyway, I have several slides here on homework, and what I want to do is I want to show you what else is in the slides and get to your questions. So we're just going to walk through it fairly quickly, I know, but I want to honor your time. And at the end of the day, people turn into pumpkins by 9 o'clock, and I want to have time to talk and answer questions as we do it. So we've got ideas on homework, some of which I've mentioned before, some inappropriate uses of homework. If a teacher ever says at back to school night, trust me, there'll be homework every single day in this class. If he comes home and says there's no homework, he's lying. Scold the teacher. That's inappropriate. Homework most nights, cool. But there might be a sub. This might be an assembly. Twice in my career, I've had a parent walk in with a box full of puppies, unannounced. There goes my lesson on cohesion and adhesion. Really, this has happened. And I wonder who's screening the visitors at the front office. But anyway, life happens. So most of the time there'll be homework, but you know what? I'll post online to some website if we have the one communication. There's no homework tonight, something like that. I just want to tell you guys something. You might not be aware of this. Kids with smartphones and technology are entering into a 24/7 cycle of doing work. So when you say homework, it's really the same as classwork. You basically just say, here's the task. Do it whenever you get a chance to do it. Because of sports practices, I'm a band parent. We do the marching band stuff, and I'm in charge of announcing at band competitions on the Eastern Seaboard. I'm really into band. But we'll take 6 buses down to Orlando from Virginia, and they're doing their homework at 2 a.m. on 95 going south. And they're beaming it to each other from bus to bus. I mean, it's really wild what's happening. So I'd like to suggest this. Ready? It's a special effect you have to watch. Ready? I think homework is going to disappear. Oh, some of you were sleepy. Let's try it one more time. I think it's going to fade. I think this idea of homework is probably fading from what we're doing. And I got to tell you right now, teachers of high school seniors, most places in the United States don't collect the little daily homework assignment, check and zero stuff, because that's not preparatory for college. College professors don't do that. They try to teach them self-discipline, meaningful work after school hours. Does practice help you? Just understand, what are you about? Hopefully the maturation. And I thought you might be interested, motivation. This is a book called The Motivation Breakthrough, and it's actually a lot of other people, really parallel this same thing, reinforce it. This is by Rick Lavoie. who's really, really good at anybody who has a learning challenge, like a learning disability, auditory processing problem, something like that. Well, he talks about what do kids really seek, and what we found is when you put the stuff into homework in some way, they, like control, sense of ownership in it, whatever, a little autonomy, they actually do the assignments. So what I'm trying to get across to you is this: if you study motivation, you probably move away from grades as the way to light the fire. Really some amazing things you can do there. And this is just an idea. Most teachers stop with sense making, but really it's about meaning making. And of the two, which one actually leads to long-term retention? Here's my not so subtle hint. I'm just saying, you want to get a meaning making as much as you can. So there's all kinds of ideas on homework, and some of it's very applicable to you as parents. Really very cool as you do that. If you want to talk about any of these after tonight, that's cool. But I will tell you, I know that the school district is probably at 20% or less. No assessment grading expert in the world would tolerate that. So I would hope you would actually try to migrate towards 10% or less. And in my school district is 5% or less, if at all possible. But we allow high school teachers only to go up to 10%. Because you don't want homework to count so much it actually distorts the accuracy of the grade of mastery. Because homework is more a report of compliance. But I want it to matter. You better learn to do self-discipline. Now I got to tell you, there's a really super tiny statistical correlation between doing homework and subsequent achievement. And here's what we also found. Doing homework in areas you find as drudgery doesn't actually improve your performance in that area or long-term retention. Doing homework in areas you find meaningful, that's where you learn. Like the kids who play basketball a lot get better at basketball. Yeah. They play basketball a lot because they like it. People who don't like basketball that play a lot don't really improve in it. So the idea that you make homework meaningful, that's actually pretty important. But you can't just say doing homework actually changes achievement. There's so much more going into that. So lots of other ideas, priming the brain, all kinds of cognitive things. Before a kid does homework, I would set up some kind of structure so it's easier to do. These are all really cool ideas. You'll like that. These are really motivating. Oh, I love that one. That one's kind of weird. I love that one there. We can do that. This is excellent. Look at that. Woohoo! Yeah. Lots of good stuff. What do we have at the end of this? Oh, by the way, this top book is written by 2 parents who are fed up with the school district's homework policy. 5/6 of it, they are right on. As a knowledgeable practitioner, I was like, yeah, let alone as a parent. But 1/6 of it, they don't know what they're talking about. But it's cool. What? Read it. Oh, look, shameless plugging here at the bottom. To Wormeli children through college. Now, rubrics, some people have questions on rubrics, so please ask that. I'll go back to these slides if you want to. For anything to explain, this is really beautiful. Look at that. That's lovely. Because I don't know what you really want to ask me. There's that idea about what the letter grades mean. And then, I thought it might be interesting, descriptive feedback. This is from a higher education journal. I mean, really, this is what college professors are talking about. When trying to give descriptive feedback, I'll let you take a moment and read that. I will tell you right now, there's no such thing as a lazy kid. The kids are kind of lumps on a log. They're kind of blobs at the desk. We'll pay for 7, 8 hours, some online gaming system, and they'll go through all the levels. There's no such thing as laziness. There's just always something else getting in the way of that. And they really would like to do it. We're hardwired from birth to do complex, demanding things. So this is really weird. If you've not been in a class, you may not know this, but a kid spends 30 minutes working on a math problem, which is a long time outside of calculus, or a puzzle. They write the conclusion and it like works. They get moderate euphoria. Here's what they do most commonly. They look up and do this. Give me another one. The reward for hard work for most humans is more of that. We like complexity and demanding things. We like to belong. We like to please others. We like to be competent. That's really interesting. If a kid says, this is stupid, this is dumb, that's a coping mechanism. He's saying, I am not competent enough, and I don't want to give the world evidence that they can reject me. So understand what you're about. Are you going to demonize failure as you go through it? These are just ideas on descriptive feedback I would love to explain to you if you want at any time. If we had time, look at the pretty pictures. Read through it all you want, and then there's a section here on redos. And we've talked about redos quite a bit, so I just want to show you there's all kinds of cool ideas here. Oh, that's actually pretty funny. That was said 28 years ago in my district and changed our thinking. Do we really need to have degrees of aptitude? You're a little F, you're a gigantor F. No, you don't need to. So lots of ideas. Most schools actually in the United States are moving towards ABCI for incomplete. There's no D. That's not being cowardly going soft. That's actually more demanding. Think about this. A kid gets an NTY, which is not there yet, at the top of a test paper or a project, or gets an F. Which one makes them moan and groan louder? They dread getting it. The F or the NTY? The NTY, because they go, oh crud, I still have to do it. An F means they're off the hook. They might get grounded. They might not be able to go to the dance on Friday, but they don't have to write the report. It's going soft to give an F. So anyway, these are just ideas on the rationalization on that. And can I be honest with you with this statement, please? If an F really taught, we'd have really brilliant kids, all self-discipline. It doesn't teach. I said that about 1,000 times. Oh, read every word on the slide. This is fun. Okay, seriously, Picasso, Michelangelo, before they would get to the one that was sold $1 million, they would do 200 versions of it. Reiteration led to genius, innovation. Do you really want to take that away and demonize failure? No. The kids learn about meeting the deadlines the first time by actually going through a failure process and then learning how to do that. So these are just lots of ideas about that. Michael Jordan even talks about it. Do you remember that Nike commercial? It's on YouTube. He's got resonant voice. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. He's walking real tall in a long coat. He goes through all these failures and says, and that is why I succeed. It's actually pretty cool. In most classrooms that are successful, fail means this: first attempt in learning. You screwed up, now let's really learn it. It's interesting, in the top 3 all-time best learning experiences is to recover from a failure. Not being exposed to consistent success. That's interesting. So this is a really cool YouTube video about a physics professor who actually is a skateboard champion. Now I will tell you, it's really good for high school, middle school, maybe 8th grade, but he does use the word ass and crap, but he uses them appropriately. But you should probably watch it before you show it to your children, okay? I'm just saying. And as I promised, these are a whole bunch of really cool ideas and redos and retakes, so kids don't abuse you, you lose your sanity, and they respect themselves. So there's some really good ideas here. Like they have to write a letter explaining what was different between the first attempt and the second one, what new decisions did they make. So if they analyze the growth over time. Parents have to sign the original. You reserve the right to give a completely alternative version, and it might be far more demanding. Yeah, they learn right away. Oh, they have to create a calendar of completion. If this stuff is due Friday, what are they going to do on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all that? So it's hard work. No one feels like they're getting a treat. Can I ask you something real quick? What if a kid worked his butt off to meet the Friday deadline? Literally, on Friday, he's buttless. And he gets a B for buttless. And you're sitting there thinking, oh, a national presenter saying the word buttless, so candidly. Anyway, gets a B for buttless, and a classmate turns in garbage and gets an F, but then over the next 2 weeks, sacrifices all his personal life. Really gone, all that stuff. He has to do new curriculum, plus he goes back and he learns the stuff, resubmits it, and gets an A. What do you think the first kid who followed the rules and turned it on time feels? Anger? Resentment? I only got a B? No, because the kid who got a B is allowed to take a small step until they get the A, and can go on doing things in life that make him or her happy. The other kid had no life, no treat. The burden was on him the entire time. He was so exhausted every single day. I got to work on this stuff. He's not getting away with anything. You know what the first kid feels? Indifference and gratitude. I'm so glad I'm not him. So give it a shot before you knock it. Lots of good ideas in here, how to pull that off. And these are some ideas of why we grade, including the top 10 things that totally messed up the accuracy of a grade, like allowing extra credit, that sort of thing, including homework and the final report card grade, things like that. So they're all there. And how about zeros on the 100-point scale? What do you do with that? Do you make them a 50 or do you leave it a 0? We can talk about that if you'd like. All kinds of cool stuff. And then at the end of this, there's some ideas about late work. And then what report cards and grade books would look like. If you really did this, I'd be glad to talk to you about that. Isn't this pretty? And then there was an article in February 28th, 2013. People asked me earlier, how do you know that date? Because people ask me about this article a lot, where they talked about GPA and whether they really counted in college. And these are some of the talking points. Swarthmore, Clemson, UVA, a lot of colleges said it's kind of worthless. What they like to do is take the grades and they design their own GPA. The grades in the courses they value, Every single one of the admissions officers with whom I've spoken, and every one of the counselors when I took my kids to 12 different colleges in the United States, both my kids are in college right now, plus all the counselors and the 8 retentive parent handbooks, how to get your child into college. They all said the exact same thing. It's the rigor of the coursework, not the GPA. That's actually a greater predictor. So if you had a 4.0, but you never took any course that pushed you, AP, IB, Honors Level 2, nothing that pushed you, they probably won't take you. But you took at least one AP or one advance or something, and you got like a 3.5, and especially if you can throw a football, they will take you. It's very interesting how that works. I just want you to know that that's an article in there you might want to look at and peruse. And it talks about grading scales. The smaller the scale, the more that's honest and more objective instead of subjective. Here are those words I told you about before, the handbook, you know. Grades are determined by teachers' professional opinion as they analyze your work. And here we go. Let me pause right now. Any members of the committee have a question based on anything I've said thus far? I was supposed to do it like in about 65 or 70 minutes. It went to about 90. I apologize. Any yeah buts? I like it when Socrates, that guy used to hang out with Plato. If you heard that strangely, drink more coffee. Socrates, Plato, the devil's advocate, the town fool, the yeah buts family. It's okay. Committee members, wherever you are, go.
I'm actually going to speak as a parent.
Okay, good. Speaking as a parent and loud enough for the whole room to hear, or I get to translate.
I'm thinking of...
Oh wait, are these working? Here you go. Just turn it on. Have fun. It's a microphone. Behave yourself. No, okay.
I'm thinking of my children's elementary experience
Yeah.
with their standards-based reports.
Yeah.
And they were never allowed to give 4
Uh-huh.
at the beginning of the school year because there's no way they could show that they mastered it
By then.
by then. So it was
Right.
almost like the teacher couldn't
Right.
give them a 4, which is
Mm-hmm. And would you like to know what assessment grading experts would say about that? Buffalo bagels. Nonsense. Whenever they are, what if the teacher gave the kids tests in the very first week, all the tests they're going to take, and a child got 100 on the very first week? Should they have to go through all the lessons and learning that stuff? No. That was a teacher hiding behind the master schedule. I would say, yeah. Now, a 4, I don't know how it's defined. Your 4 might be, goes above and beyond. Okay. If you were clear about what that was and the kid nailed it, then why are you miring him in what he already knows? The grade must be accurate, not you're playing games with it. Mind games? We're being coy. It might be an A, it might not be an A. I'll be able to tell in half a year. No. Now, I will tell you, when I do a pre-assessment of some sort and the kid nails it, I always ask him a couple of weeks later the stuff to see if he really knows it, instead of it was just a fluke. And that's okay. And I would tell you, I would put that test stuff on subsequent tests just to make sure he continues to know it. But if a kid already knows it, wow, I'm hiding behind the factory model schooling by keeping him exactly there. So most assessment experts would say, you knowingly falsified the grade. You know darn well that he was a 4 and you gave him a 3. That's an ethical problem. I would be intolerant of that. If one of my colleagues did, I would have words with that colleague. Wouldn't you like to have me on your staff?